Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show, where ordinary heroes tell extraordinary stories during unique and never been heard before conversations with your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Hilary's unique listening and way of asking questions results in conversations that aren't usually talked about, so you can create the life that you really want but are afraid you can't really have. We are demonstrating the greatness in the human spirit and creating a world where we all reclaim our birthright of joy, happiness, purpose, and passion. Now, here's your host, Hilary Arno Burns. Welcome to the Getting Real with Hilary show. And today we have a very special treat. We have Dustin Dunbar. He isn't just running for president. That's right. You heard it. He is running for president of the United States of America. He's not just doing that. He's answering a call to transform a nation. Forged in the heartland and defined by a powerful victory over the generational grip of addiction, Dunbar committed early to breaking cycles, a vow that propelled him into the profound realms of psychology and spirituality, culminating in a doctorate and solidifying his position as a leading voice in personal development. So I think that's enough to start with. Let's let him tell us his story. Welcome, Dustin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Wow, so many questions and all that. Woo! So, all right. Where do we start? Do we start with your childhood? Let's go back to your childhood. Obviously, you wrote the book, Alcohol-Free Revolution. Is that the name of it? And
that's my nonprofit. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. So you know, that was that your first movement that you started, Alcohol-Free, and you wrote?
Yeah, first big one. First one that came through me. Otherwise, I was in the grip of corporate America and trying to cure the fear of not having enough money within me from growing up really poor in the Midwest. And so I went out and did that. But yeah, so nonprofit organization helping people overcome addictions of all kinds, not just alcohol.
Wow. And did you cure the fear of not having enough?
I think so. Yeah, I did. But I cured it by getting enough. I made all my money in the health insurance industry, which is I did 25 years, still have an agency and know all the ins and outs of the whole American system and all the systems that are out in the world. So with the presidential run, can definitely fix that problem easily with the help of beautiful minds in the industry, top level. And I have all the past 10 years, we've been putting it together, and now we're ready to roll it out. Because of all the special interests and everything involved, though, we're keeping it on the down low until it's really time, because everybody it's way too much money. With all the special interests, some will love it and some won't. That's just how it goes.
Wow. Okay. So your corporate life was in health insurance.
Yes.
That's
and real estate.
Did.
Yeah. And I invested in real estate as well. And that's where the wealth came from, was the real estate. So I have a bunch of properties around the US, and luckily they did great. I thought during COVID that I was ruined because nobody was going to be able to rent. And what happened was all my properties went up double in value pretty much over the 2-year period. And so that enabled me to retire pretty much from the corporate world and get into my passion, which is spirituality and psychology.
Wow. All right. So can we just go back to the alcohol-free part?
Yeah. You want to do the childhood first?
A little bit.
Let's get
because I think it sets the stage for all this.
So,
you do the short version, but I think, there's a lot of people who could benefit from it.
Sure.
I think
Absolutely.
A lot of people struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in Oklahoma, and I was part of a whole farmer community from way back. The Sooners, the land run, great grandfather was part of it, and got awesome land. But he got addicted to alcohol, the whiskey, the getting through the hard times. And when I say hard times, I mean like they were living in the dirt. They dug into the dirt to live. So obviously no things like air conditioning, running water. And Oklahoma, if you've ever been there, summers and winters, we got extreme weather. And so these people just coped to get through, and they did it with numbing themselves with whatever they pretty much could, I think. And that the most accessible thing was alcohol. And so my grandfather also became addicted. We ended up losing all of the land, and the horror stories of gambling it away, drinking it away, giving it away, all this stuff were awful. So I vowed, and my father also on my side, not my grandmother. My grandfather was on my mother's side. My father also was like a PhD in American history. He ended up getting addicted to alcohol and becoming a monster. Whenever he didn't drink, he was a really kind, good man. And so was my grandfather. But whenever they drank, they were just absolute monsters, horrible. So at about the age 6, 7, I vowed I would never drink alcohol. I was like, no way, not doing it. And so I went into psychology undergrad in Oklahoma and started meditating, started getting into spirituality. Loved it. Went to the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology out in San Francisco, which is now Sophie University, and then Saybrook University, which is all Maslow, Carl Jung, Carl Rogers, and absolutely just loved it, having spiritual experiences. But then I was like, okay, how am I going to make money with this? This is like 1994, 95. And there was no life coaching. You had to be licensed to get money to practice. And so I started doing my licensing, and I did not like it. I tried to bring in meditation. I tried to bring in yoga, tried to bring in all this holistic stuff at the time. And I literally was laughed at by the community of doctors and nurses and things like that. So I went in, I was like, okay, well, I need money to survive. So where's the money? And I got into sales, and it was health insurance sales and agency. And that's where the corporate America stuff started. And I went completely away from my spirituality, and literally money became kind of my God. I was just completely focused on getting money. And with that, I started drinking and doing the whole running around. CEOs were taking me everywhere, golfing around the world, beautiful courses. I just remember doing a lot of shots of tequila on golf courses and things like that, and ended up getting addicted myself, being a monster just like my father and grandfather, doing the unconscious generational ridiculousness that seems to always find its way into us until we break it. And then, so 6, 7 years ago, I decided, all right, I'm going to go on what Malcolm Gladwell calls the 10,000 hour deal, where it takes 10,000 hours to become professional at sports or music or whatever your profession is. He showed that it takes 10,000 hours. So I did that with spirituality and psychology and on myself. And right now, this January 1st, I'm going to hit my 10,000 hours. And it's one of those things where starting out, I was in so much pain. I was in absolute fear of abandonment. I was getting divorced. I thought I was losing my kids, and it was just horrible. I didn't want to hurt myself and kill myself that way, but I asked the universe. I was like, hey, if you want to take me out of here, I'm fine. You can take me. So I wanted to die. That's how much pain I was in. And so from that point to now, I am almost like levitating, where I feel like this spiritual, beautiful lightness that all the gurus, Jesus, Buddha, all the saints, the mystics, the shamans, they talk about this energy and this lightness and this light that's within us. And whenever you're doing it and you're like, is it real? Because, you hear all the stories and stuff, and so from my experience, for me, it's absolutely real. And it's the only thing that's real with a capital R, meaning it's everlasting. And money comes and goes. All the house, everything, the forms, the physical stuff come and go. What I've built my foundation on now will never leave me. And it's eternal, it's infinite, it's timeless, and it is me, and it is everything. And that's where I feel just beautiful now. And that's why I want to bring out that to the world and be of service in any way I can. And I had the calling to do it with being president.
Wow. All right. 2 questions, if you don't mind. What I know they may seem random, but they're stuck in my head. So I'm going to ask, when you were trying to get your licensing and they laughed at you in 1994, what kind of who was laughing? What you were trying to bring the meditation into what kind of license?
So I was in a crisis intervention center, and where I was counseling and getting my hours, and they were just all on absolute antipsychotic medications and just drooling. They had them on so much that you couldn't really engage and talk to them.
Okay.
And so there was just no growth happening whatsoever. And it just felt like, what's the point of this at all? Like, all we're doing is we're babysitting, you know what I mean? We're just making sure kind of that they're safe. And I had no passion for that. And it wasn't for me. So I was much more into higher consciousness levels and dealing with people that are very high functioning, and then getting them to even higher levels, up into Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, and self-actualization, that kind of thing.
Okay. All right. So that, and then, all right, then you went into the health insurance, then you started drinking 6 years ago. So it was only 2019 when you stopped, right?
Yeah, I was 48 years old when I stopped drinking completely.
Wow. Okay. So you stopped, and then you did 10,000 hours of what?
Yeah. So you name it. I did it. And thank goodness I had a co-parent. I have 2 children who allowed me to have them, half the time, and she had them half the time. And whenever I didn't have them, I was able to go on serious, beautiful retreats in Cambodia, and, the eat, pray, love stuff. So I was able to do a month there. I did 60 days of silence. I did all kinds of Reiki. I did meditation 2 hours a day, yoga 2 hours a day. I was basically a monk in training. And whenever I was in my 20s, I would look at that time and I go, I either can become a priest or a monk. And that's what I felt like doing. But I was like, I don't want to be poor. I really like to have my nice things. And I've always been poor my whole life. I really want money. And I had a fear of not having enough money to survive, because that was always a prevalent thing in my family. And so, so I just did basically everything from, cold baths, heat, Native American shamanism, just private therapy, group therapy, being as vulnerable as I can, journaling, all the things that, being in the industry of psychology and having a doctorate, I had access to all these different things. So I'm like, let's try everything. And breath work was holotropic breath work was absolutely huge for me. I never did do the ayahuasca stuff that a lot of people do. That felt very forceful. And it didn't resonate with me. I had a shaman that was from Egypt, and I was asking him about ayahuasca, and he said, "Oh, that plant, it will find you. You don't have to find it." So I haven't had that calling. A lot of people have had really good results with it, but then a lot of people have also said it was way too forceful and actually caused trauma instead of alleviating it. So be very careful with whenever you're doing things like that. But so for me, it was all natural, and a lot of help from a lot of people.
So, okay, so you got your degree in spiritual psychology. You obviously you got a PhD, right?
Correct. Yes.
What was your thesis on?
So Ken Wilber's theory of stages of consciousness Ken Wilber is known as the Einstein of consciousness, and he's very cerebral to read and to research and things like that. So that was my master's thesis, and that's what I was super interested in, but it took me forever to do, and it was so difficult and stuff like that. So when I got to my doctorate, I basically was like, okay, what's the easiest thing I can do to get through this doctorate and get this done with? And I was also drinking at that point during doctorate, and I was making all the money. So I really did not care. I was like, just get me through this. I don't want anything. I don't think I'm ever going to use this anyway. Like I had kids. I was just focused on completely different stuff. I had tons of employees. So I did it on like exercise and psychotherapy, like, and whether or not it affects people to make them happy. And long story short, if you do 30 minutes a day of vigorous walking, you're happier in life.
Wow.
But I even cheated on it. I plagiarized some of it. It was awful. It was terrible. So I tell people, don't call me doctor, call me master. Because I feel good about the master's degree. Yeah. I don't feel good about the doctorate. But then I did my alcohol-free book, and I submitted it to the university, and that did it. Because I did fess up on they didn't catch me on the plagiarizing stuff of the dissertation. So I fessed up to it and told them, and they were like, okay, well, what do you want? And then I showed them what I've done, and they were good with it.
Wow. Okay. So the alcohol-free book is your memoir. So obviously you did it in the last 6 years if you only stopped drinking, right?
Yeah. So it was, it got published about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it came out. It took me about 3 to 4 years to write. And it was journaling. It was going through, and it's really a how-to book on addiction and how to overcome it. And the things I did, like you were asking me earlier, the things that I did. So I give step by step what I did to overcome it and just what helped me. If it helps people, great. I've already helped a lot of people do it. It's a very different approach to AA. There's no competition with AA at all in it. I love AA. I think it's great, but so it's not competing in any way. However you want to become alcohol free, do it, but it's definitely a very different approach than AA.
Okay, and you say when you got addicted to drinking. So what is the difference between, like, you were just drinking and then you became addicted?
Yeah, so I started having physical cravings, and that's when I started realizing I was going to parties and being like, oh, like a party they would say, oh, we're not going to have alcohol. And I'd be like, oh, well, then we're not going to be having fun. It was like things like that, just thoughts of like, and before I would go do pretty much anything, I would be like, first I got to go get the alcohol to go do whatever I was doing. I'm like, wait a minute. And then really I started behaving with my then wife horribly, started acting out, in sexual ways with others, and just doing really stupid things that I look back and I'm just like, man, I slapped my head and I was like, just unconscious. That's complete. I was unconscious and numbing myself, and just, yeah, it was, I was thirsting for my spirituality. I was thirsting for my wholeness. And instead of meditation and doing all the really healthy ways to get that, I thought I was getting it through a liquid, the elixir of life, as all the 5 ads a day that we see on TV, the billboards, everything around the world, all the time in our face, how amazing and incredible this liquid is. And then you get into the reality of it, and it is pure toxic poison that is 100% addictive to anybody out there who drinks it, and you will get addicted once enough is consumed. So you're absolutely playing with fire. I thought, my grandfather and my father, I'm smarter than them. I'm more kind. I saw what they did. I won't get addicted because I know what they've done. That won't happen to me. And it's absolutely 100% very addictive. Some people get, slow drip addiction. And then some people, right when they take their first drink, they're like, the whole world just kind of came like centered for me. My pain, my trauma from youth just all went away. And all it's doing is numbing that pain. And so we're not dealing with it. And that's what happened with me too.
Wow. And the pain, all that fear and stuff, was that because your father was drinking and your grandfather? Was that the trauma?
So super interesting, because I thought I had dealt with that with all my psychology background and everything. I was like, oh, of course it's, mom and dad, always. That's what So I got into that and I went through it and I really forgave my father. Yes, he was abusive to my mother. I saw him beat her up and things like that. And so it was definitely traumatic stuff that happened in our childhood. But the deeper I went, because it didn't really go away, I was like, wait, I'm still having tons of fear of abandonment. I still don't feel good. The deeper I went, it wasn't from that at all. It was abandonment from the universe. I felt like a poodle out in the middle of the ocean, a dark ocean, just trying to like swim and survive and just keep my head up above water. And like at any point, the big shark is going to come eat me, just like that. Like you're just alone, tiny in this infinite abyss, and there's nobody to help you. And it just felt awful, right? That's how I felt. And abandoned. I felt abandoned. And that's why for me, like Jesus on the cross, whenever some of his last words were, why hast thou forsaken me? Whenever he's going through absolutely all of his pain and he's just like, everything I've done and you're abandoning me. And that's where that, for me, that beautiful tie, that connection with Jesus comes in, because that's that humanness, and that's, I feel like all of us have that. And Pema Chodron is one of my favorite Buddhist authors, teachers, and she says that all fear, all depression, all anxiety comes from fear of death. And she's not talking about the physical part. It's the psychological abandonment, fear of abandonment. And once I really got into that, then I was like, what is this? And why am I feeling so disconnected? And then through tons of meditation, tons of vulnerability, then it all started, the connection, the mystical union that, all the gurus and saints and shamans and everybody talks about. It started happening. It started having this inner lightness, the joy, the peace, the Eckhart Tolle, you are it. You are the present moment. You are the now. There is no, separation. And science has even proven, quantum physics, 99.999% of our bodies and anything is space. It's 99.99% space. So all this form and everything we're seeing is literally this space. And you're like, okay, well, what is that space? And what is that? Where is all this, coming from? And you just realize that you are it. And that itness, for me, in my experience, is joy, ease, and lightness. And when we're in that present moment, that eternal, timeless, infinite present moment, and we're in that consciousness, there is no fear, there is no anxiety, there is no abandonment. It's just this oneness with all that the Buddhists talk about. And that's really where I am residing mostly these days. At the end of the day, I say, how long did I spend in the present moment? How long was I in just relaxed lightness and not worried about the future, not dwelling on the past? And every day it gets a little bit better. But of course I have my days where I'm like, traffic and kids and, your back injury, physical health that pulls you out of it. You're just like, But at the same time, then you just every day try to get a little bit better, stay in it more. And once it starts happening, you want to be in it all the time. And there's people like Eckhart Tolle, like, Byron Katie, tons of shamans and gurus who live around the world who don't have publicists, who live constantly in that state of consciousness. And I call it Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness. And that's that's my goal in life. President of the United States. Okay, we're going to do some service. We're going to do some help and all that. But for me personally, it's, that's my goal.
Wow. All right. So what's the blue armband?
Yes. So Her Holiness, the book that, just came out, is what I'm really here for talking about. It is about the first, the first female pope. And so what happened was in 2012, I was in Italy and I was living there, and I picked up a newspaper and it said that the Archbishop of Milan is absolutely pissed off at the Catholic Church. He's on his deathbed. He's just letting them have it. And Ratzinger was the Pope at the time, German, conservative. And he said that the Catholic Church is 200 years out of date. This bolt of this female Pope, I saw her face. I saw her wearing the papal hat. I saw her just in it and being it. Then the story, I remember going home and just started writing.
Now, when was that?
2012.
Oh, so that was while you were still drinking and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. That was right
after the other book. Okay, wow.
America big time. It just was like this thing. And I was like, I had never really written. I'd done, research type writing, but I hadn't done creative writing. And it was so much fun. I was having so much fun with it, but I was literally on a scratch paper spiral, a little bit crazy, just like, what am I doing? And it was just coming through me, and I just let it go and let it flow. And so 5 years later, I have this manuscript and I send it out to a bunch of people, and Folio Lit of New York picks it up, huge literary agent. And people, I mean, once you get picked up by them, everybody's like, oh, it's sold. You're published author, you're all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I don't know. My sister had published 2 books. And she was like, what the heck? How did you get this? And what's going on? I don't know. I don't know. She's like, I thought you were doing insurance. And so they couldn't sell it. They said it needed to be more commercial, was the feedback. And so I left it on the shelf for a couple of years and didn't really mess with it. But then this just kept eating at me to do it. And I was like, okay. So I went back and I hired a lot of people to help me. I was like Dan Brown, where I got like a military, a village of research people to really do this. I had professional editors. I was like, all right, if Folio Lit picked this up, then we gotta get this. And it gave me confidence what that did. And then I went. So
did they actually publish it, or they never did?
Oh, so Folio Lit is a literary agent, and so they went out to sell it to publishers, and they couldn't sell it. Yeah, so they said make it more commercial and a little bit of other feedback. So I did that, and I just went crazy with investing in it, and just it came out so much better. And now I did a hybrid publishing where I have a lot of the rights. It's a trilogy. And it's super fast paced, like Dan Brown. So all the reviews are on Amazon, and they're all 5-star, and they're all comparing it to Da Vinci Code. But the difference between Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown says that his is not an activist type book at all. He's not trying to promote any kind of thing like that. The blue armband in this book, but I got Her Holiness, is 100% activist. I'm not denying it. And so the blue armband in 1979, the American group of nuns, were protesting Pope John Paul II. He came over, and they wore these blue armbands. There was about 50 of them, and Teresa Kane was the leader of them, and she got up and spoke about how they wanted equality within the church. They wanted to be ordained. They are spiritually equal. And that blue armband, whenever I started researching that, I'm carrying that on. And so whenever I'm on things like this, I always wear it and in tribute to her and those 50 nuns for speaking up about their spiritual equality.
So do you think that's where the book came from? Sort of? I mean,
women, have always wanted spiritual equality. I mean, who doesn't want to be equal? But the suppression has been unbelievable. And so this has been, consciousness has been bubbling up for a long time. What's really interesting to me is that in 600 AD, we had a pope that was gave a homily of Mary Magdalene, and he was just absolutely saying at Easter, that Mary Magdalene is a sinner, a whore, all these things, and you look back and you're like, oh, that's where all that comes from. And she wasn't that at all. She was actually a wealthy, beautiful, spiritual light in Jesus's world who funded his whole mission. And so I've never heard of a very wealthy hooker before. I'm like, right.
Well, she didn't need the money.
In the history of the world,
yeah,
I don't think that really goes together. But so he got, which I can understand where he mistook Mary Magdalene for some other Marys in the New Testament, because it was there's 6 in the New Testament and Marys, and it was a very prevalent name, back then and stuff. So he got that mixed up in a really bad way.
But you think the Pope would have gotten it straight, right?
Oh yeah. So they call it was Gregory the Great. Gregory was not so great. Gregory on that day, Gregory might have been great in other ways, but he really messed it up. And then you got to look at the film and stuff, and Scorsese and all the the passion, and what would you have without Jesus being tempted sexually. And so it's all film Hollywood stuff. For me, that you do the research, you're like, all right, it's just, no, you don't go to Hollywood to learn theology and things like that. But it sure does make for great stories. And then, but the other thing, though, that this consciousness has been bubbling up with spiritual equality which super interesting to me, is that the Muslims in 600 AD, at the exact same time, Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, was absolutely for women to own property, to be able to divorce if they wanted to marry whoever they wanted to have all these freedoms and all this equality. And he absolutely said that they were spiritually equal, right? And so it's crazy to me to see these extreme Muslims, which are beating women, are not allowing them to do anything, literally. They are treated so bad, but that's what we see on the media. And so I have a lot of friends that are Muslim, and they are like, oh yeah, those aren't real Muslims. We follow Prophet Muhammad, we follow what he says, and we are absolutely spiritually equal. And I'm talking to a lot of guys about it, and they're like, yeah, it's just too bad that almost all of us Western Americans especially think that Muslims are this just absolutely treating women horribly. But that's really 90% of Muslims don't do that, and they see it spiritually equal.
Wow. All right, let's take our commercial break. Hey everyone, it's Hilary, and if you followed Getting Real with Hilary, you know I believe we heal by telling the truth, asking better questions, and choosing courage over chaos. That's why I'm excited to share a book that does all of that. It's called Reviving Our Republic, written by Navy veteran Mike Biedenbaugh. This isn't just another political book. It's a hopeful, grounded blueprint that shows exactly how we repair our institutions, restore our constitutional balance, and rebuild a culture where citizens lead again. If you're ready to get real about America's future and what role you can play, go to revivingourrepublic.com and get your copy today. Hey, it's Hilary from the Getting Real with Hilary show. Life can be messy, raw, and real. And sometimes we're afraid to feel vulnerable. We're afraid to be that real self. Well, that's exactly what the Getting Real with Hilary show and Getting Real movement is all about. Being our true selves. Every week, I bring you stories of transformation, authenticity, and hope. People getting real with their struggles, their faith, and their breakthroughs. So don't miss a thing. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter today. You'll get stories, links to everything new, and how to create a life you love every week directly to your inbox. You can also find my books on Amazon. My courageous and riveting memoir, The Second Piece of French Toast, in case you feel stuck in your life and want to get inspired. How I came out about my no sex life in my marriage, in my second book, Real Talk. That one will get you speaking up in ways you've been too afraid to do so, and really creating amazing freedom. And my third book, How to Stop Fixing Yourself and Start Having Fun, the name is called Your Bullshit is Your Blessing. Find links to everything and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Getting Real with Hilary, and you'll find the links in the header. So, visit, and you can also visit gettingrealwithhilary.com because the real you is worth it and wants to come out. Hey friends, it's Hilary, host of the Getting Real with Hilary show, and I want to get real with you for a moment about something we don't talk about enough: brain health and immune health as we age. I recently learned about daily brain care from Dr. John E. Lewis, and what stood out to me is that this isn't hype. It's science-backed and clinically proven. Daily brain care supports cognitive function and memory, reduces inflammation, balances the immune system, and even helps increase adult stem cell production, which plays a key role in how our bodies repair and regenerate. When your immune system is balanced, your whole body works better. You handle stress better, you feel healthier, and you function more like your younger self. If you're serious about taking care of your brain and your body, check out Daily Brain Care at drlewisnutrition.com. So would you say that this, Her Holiness, was channeled?
Yeah, it just came through me. I like to say that when I'm in service, that I am like the hole in the Christ flute, that I'm just allowing this to flow through me, and that happened. The problem is I was drinking and stuff so much then that I kind of am like, man, it still came through. like that was really powerful for it to get through my mess at the time. And so like
maybe you wouldn't have been open had you not been, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
At that point, were you into spirituality at that point?
No, like I said, I was like money, just corporate America, tiny, like dealing with very small kids. I just had 2 kids, and I was stressed out. And
when did you go back for the spiritual psychology stuff? Was that before or after?
Yeah, no, it was before. I got my doctorate probably when I was like 33 years old, I think it was, like 2006. So it was 6 years before. So I had all that stuff in me, of course, and the education part and the reading and all that stuff. But I really hadn't done the personal work. I've done a couple of years of it, but not in depth like I did the last 6 years.
Because then you went to the health insurance.
Yeah, I was in health insurance and probably when I was like 27 years old. That's whenever I got into corporate America.
What were you doing before? You were going back for your...
I was doing my master's degree and to cancel it. And then I was also a male model. I was doing a lot of modeling around the world. I was in Milan, Italy. And
wow.
I was underwear modeling. Mostly it was sportswear for like Nike and Champion and things like that. Yeah. So
You've done a lot of different things. Well, if you run, when you run for president, those pictures are going to surface, right? So
I'm aware. The good thing is mostly, it's like like the body shots, like whenever you see the underwear things at the Marshalls or whatever, it's just the torso.
Right,
So
right.
maybe it's me, maybe it's not.
Wow. All right. So then you did corporate. And during that, I'm trying to get so you studied that, you did your stuff, you said the hell with it, you went to make money.
Yeah.
Right? So during that time is when you got the vision about the female pope and you started writing, right? You're still at the health insurance.
Yeah. I was in absolute like corporate craziness and drinking and had 2 small kids. Just like it felt, looking back, I was just like survival kind of mode and like trying to get money and like in any way I could. And so the writing was coming through me anyway. Yep. And there you go. I felt like kind of like Ernest Hemingway, he would drink 13. I went to Cuba once and he was on a restaurant almost every day writing For Whom the Bell Tolls. I sat right where he wrote that book and he would drink, they said on average about 12 to 13 margaritas per day while he would write. He would just keep saying, yep, another one, writing For Who the Bell Tolls. So it can be done. I don't recommend it.
Wow.
Not the way to go, but there you go.
So you would just leave the family and go write, or you were traveling for work?
No, I would write while it was going on, whenever I'd get 30 minutes, whatever, stuff would come out of me and I would just, there you go. And this story. Yeah. And I consider myself more like an Ernest. I mean, like a Mark Twain kind of storyteller. I'm not a professional writer. Like that's a whole different brain of kind of writing and like professional writing. My sister has that and she's able to do that where she can do the whole flow of it, everything. What I do is I get it all down, the stories all down on paper. And then I have professional editors and writers help me to make it all flow and work really well. But the story, is where I thrive, the creative part of it.
So I don't know if I can ask this, but about the birth of Kate.
Yeah.
That came through. I mean, that was unique, right?
Yeah.
I want to say, but that was unique, right? That came through. I mean, like who could think of that, right? Like,
yeah. So her parents, you'll see early in the book, are unique. Let's call it that. We don't want to ruin anything, but they are extremely unique, and they set the tone for a wild ride, and it is a trilogy. So a lot of people, when they get to the end, they're like, no, like we got more coming. So
have you written the other 2 already?
No, but I've got them in here deep within me. And it's funny because some of it changes as well as, because it all just comes out of me and it changes as I grow and I evolve. And I see Kate, the main character, as my anima, my female energy that Carl Jung talks about. We each have, anima and animus, depending on our sex. It's the opposite energy. And when I get in touch with her and that female energy within me, the creativity, it just goes and it flows and it's beautiful. And so I just kind of allow it to come out. But I definitely have archaeological, historical, and I try to do like Dan Brown, where I keep everything very factual that's in the history. And then, of course, we're set in the future. So it all ties in of how.
I would recommend, I thought when I first saw this, I'm like, I'm not into religion, right? I'm not going to like this, but I could not put it down. It was so well written and suspenseful, right? You just have to keep going. And then when it ends, you're like, oh, wait, come on. Don't end there. You can't end there. You can't leave us there. But anyway, obviously you did. So yeah, I would recommend, if you like to read and you like a great story and I can't put it down, definitely read the book. Yeah. Now you had compared it to what's the other one you compared it to? Sorry, I'm blanking.
Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
Yeah. Was Dan Brown the one that wrote that? Sorry for my ignorance. Was he?
Yeah, Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. He's got a new book out right now called Secret of Secrets, and I'm looking forward to that. So to even be compared to Dan Brown a little bit is phenomenal for me. He's my favorite as far as thrillers. He's because of the historical aspects you learn in an entertaining way, and that's what the beauty of this is. Because like my children, they're now 10 and 12. They haven't really gotten into the Bible much. I'll show them, I call myself a red letter Christian, which I'll show them, that part of it. But the Old Testament, to me, it's like Stephen King said, he's like, that's the scariest book I've ever read in my life. The Old Testament. So for me, Jesus came along to do away with eye for an eye and show us that to be loving and change all that stuff. So they're like, like I get into St. Peter a lot in the book, and they're like, who's St. Peter? And you get to educate kids are learning these things from entertainment stuff. And so for that to happen, and I think that's what happened with Dan Brown a lot too, is people got really interested in like, wait, who's Mary Magdalene? And what's the real story? And that's beautiful. If we can open people up to that, and then they get to learn, obviously, start learning about Jesus and the history there, and maybe get a good connection and grow spiritually. That's a big part of this as well.
And you said you worked with Dan Brown on the book?
No, I'm following kind of what he does, and he has a team of researchers that helps him. So, I did that too. I've lived in Italy and stuff, but I never lived, in Bethlehem area and all that. Obviously, it's a very difficult place. And so to do the research and try to get it right is really difficult whenever you're not standing in front of something,
So you hired people to do that?
I did it myself mostly. But then I had a lot of people go over it and help as well.
Wow. Okay. All right. So what else would you like to tell us? We have 6-7 minutes.
Yeah, I think for me, the presidential thing it's about balance. And what's happening right now in the United States is imbalance. We are extremes on each side and getting more and more. George Washington, our founding father, whenever he was doing the Constitution, said that factions, i.e. political parties, will ruin this country. And he did not want us to do them at all. He did not want it to happen. So I am following in the footsteps of him and an independent candidate who, has both inside of me. So I grew up with Republican grandparents who are beautiful people who taught me how to work hard individually and be that strong individual. And then I have Democrat parents who are highly educated and always ground into me. It's about community. It's about service. It's about not leaving others behind. And so I feel I have this half and half. I'm like half Democrat, half Republican. And people are always like, do you like Donald Trump? I want very clear. I love all Republicans. I love all Democrats. Do I like Gavin Newsom? I love them all. They are the American family. Of course, I don't agree with everything they do. My brother and I don't agree. We raised in the same household, right? We don't agree at all. A lot of times we have times like I take a year off from even talking. We get so angry at each other about stupid stuff, but we do it, right? That's a family. We are family. We are Americans. We're family. We have to get away from these factions. James Madison, the author of our Constitution, said no factions, no political parties. And they both, so the author of the Constitution, the father of our country, both said that it will eventually could lead to war. And then what you see happening just now with Charlie Kirk being assassinated and people reacting, there was some reactions from Proud Boys and stuff like that saying war. This means war. And I'm like, you guys, we are being unconscious. We are doing exactly what the fathers of our country told us we would be doing if we did. So we have to transcend this. We have to see each other as family. We don't have to agree. We have to be kind to one another and listen to one another and then vote. And so that's what I'm bringing to this. And all I need is $5 billion is what I've found out, with a B, not an M. Biden and Trump both spent about $5 billion each, at the last 2024 presidential run. So there's a lot of money and things that go into this. I'm doing my paperwork for donorship and everything coming up soon. And everything's on the website, DustinDunbarUSA.com. Grassroots, obviously. And we're gonna see how it goes. As long as I feel it inside, I'll keep it going and see what happens.
Now, have you ever run politically for anything?
No, I have not.
Oh.
My background is all corporate, running businesses, and then of course the doctorate in spiritual psychology, dealing with relationships. For me, politics is all about relationships, and I know from what I've been through, treasure chest of what not to do, and now what to do. I am an expert in relationships and can bring us back together. Then, of course, the health insurance aspect of it, too, the 25 years in health insurance, I can easily fix that and have it all ready to go and designed, with the brightest minds in the industry. And it's just a matter of releasing it at the right time without special interest being all over us for it.
So how do you think, I mean, I guess there's been other people who haven't been in politics who've run, right? I mean,
Well,
do you think people...
Our current president was The Apprentice. He really, people saw him as a boss on The Apprentice. Right. And it really wasn't from his real estate stuff, things like that. They saw him running things at a desk and firing people, and being like the man in charge. But a good example of what is happening now in politics too is Zelensky over in Ukraine. He is a good example. He was like a comedian and social media guy, and he was just, everybody saw him as a really good relationships and kind and all this stuff. And he got thrust into that. He just like had the calling to run for president and did it. And then, the war started and he went from comedian basically to general of Ukrainian army. And it's just amazing what life brings us. But I think the last thing we need right now is an old school politician who is doing the same thing over and over and over, who can't see both sides and who isn't both sides. Like me, like if you've been in politics a while, you've had to choose. You had to be either or. And for me, it's both, yet I'm transcending it and saying, look, we are independent Americans, free thinking Americans. We've just got to listen and bring that listening into this, instead of the divisiveness and shutting each other off.
I agree. I've been saying that for a long time. But now, how do you, I don't know if this is, I think a lot of it is the media that divides it with their narrative. What will you do about that, Mr. President?
Yeah, the media, of course, was used, and there's extreme sides, and people love to just say like CNN's the liberal one and Fox is the conservative one. And for me, what I do is I watch both, and I get emails from both the blue and the red, and I see it all. And what's funny is when I watch them, I'm listening and I'm like, if you could replace, liberal with conservative each time and flip it on each station, they're saying the same thing basically to each other. We have to fight them. We have to fight with this and emails. I'm like, if every email, literally 100% of the emails I get and text, oh my God, we got to do something about the texting, by the way. That's got to be illegal. Oh, geez. It all says fight. There's a word in there. We have to fight. And I'm like, no, okay. We're not talking about fighting Russia. We're not talking about fighting China.
Right.
We're talking about fighting ourselves.
Yes.
We are American family. We must stop fighting. We are going to destroy ourselves if we continue doing this.
All right.
And we want to prove George Washington and James Madison wrong.
Right. All right.
We're going to have to do some work. We
have 45 seconds to wrap it up, believe it or not. What would you like to leave people with in closing?
If you want to support, DustinDunbarUSA.com is the big website, and you can buy the book at all of the different, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Her Holiness, and it'll be a fun, fast-paced thrill ride where you'll learn a lot about historical facts, and then who knows, maybe a future female pope.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you for being here. And we appreciate you taking this on and uniting the country. Yeah.
Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this episode. I started getting real with Hilary when I discovered that I was a people-pleasing, pleasant phony and wanted to be more of my real self. We can grow together if you will like the show, subscribe to my channel, and share this episode with your friends and family so that we can have a world that's more real.